Hi guys, today we are starting the last lesson of this course, okay? It's about geology. And for understanding geology, we must know that we have two kinds of geological agents, which are the ones who are going to shape the earth. We have the internal geological agents and the external ones. What's the difference? The internal geological agents comes from the energy from the inner part of the earth, okay? You know that the earth inside is really hot because it's like a croquette, okay? When you bite a croquette, the outside part sometimes is cool, it's cold, but the inner part is still hot because the heat is inside and it can't comes out. So the same happens with the earth. It stores the heat that was produced during its formation. That heat is going to make that the materials are fluid, okay, and they can move. It's like when you have a boiling pot, okay, and you have a boiling pot, you can notice that the water is moving with convection currents. It's like bloop, 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 bloop. That are convection currents because the material that are hot are going up, okay, and when they cool down, they come down, okay. So the same happens with the air. You know that the air has several layers: the crust, the mantle, and the nucleus. Crust, mantle, and nucleus. So in the mantle, okay, there's going to be convection currents. The hot materials are going to ascend, okay, and when they cool down in the surface are going to come down. And the same happens here. They go up, they come down. And we are going to find this all over the earth. These convection currents, okay? Convection currents. Convection currents are the ones who move the tectonic plates, okay? Plate tectonics is the name of the theory, but the plates, we call them, each one, tectonic plates. So those are the ones who move the crust, and they are going to create landforms. And here, internal geological agents, energy of the inner part of the earth, that heat, the heat of the inner part of the earth, makes the materials move in convection currents. Sorry for that. And they are going to move, they are going to break the crust, okay? And the crust is going to start moving, okay? The crust starts moving. It's what we call the tectonic plates. This is going to create, okay? It's going to create landforms. Which one? Mountains, volcanoes, and ridges. Ridges son dorsales oceánicas. Cuando las placas se separan, forman dorsales. We are going to see each one later. Okay. And now we have the external geological agents. These ones comes, they come, well, firstly, I'm going to explain this firstly. When we have two tectonic plates, okay, what happens is that they can approach or they can separate. When they approach, they are going to form mountains. They are going to ridge and form mountains. Mountains when they approach, okay? when they separate, okay, if they separate, they are going to form a ridge. When they separate, they form ridges, okay? And volcanoes are formed when the plate tectonics, we have one plate tectonic, okay? Imagine this is, and the other one is going to fall down one of them, okay? This is like more or less like this. When one of them is going to fall down, when they approach, obviously they approach, and this one falls down, the friction here and the heating of the materials, this is the crust, obviously, and this is the mantle. These materials are going to because of the friction, okay, and because of the heat inside the earth, it's going to melt. This material melts and they ascend and form volcanoes, okay? So volcanoes is when one crust falls down through the other one, okay? You are watching a video later about this, and I hope you are going to understand it. Okay, so this is all about the internal geological agents. Now we are going to see the external ones. The external ones comes from the energy, if they are external, energy of the outer part of the earth. So energy from the sun. The energy that provokes these external agents is the energy from the sun, because the energy from the sun is the one that causes the meteorological phenomena. So wind, water, and glaciers. Wind, water as rainfall, rivers or oceans, and the glaciers. These are not going to create landforms. They are going to erode it, or what we can say erosion or weathering. They erode the landforms. When a mountain is formed, then the external geological agents, which are wind, water, glaciers, are going to erode that mountain and form valleys, canyons, sand dunes, deltas, caves, cliffs, and beaches. How do they do? When the water goes through the mountain, it's going to erode the mountain, okay, and it's going to form a valley. When the river comes here, it's going to be a valley. It goes shaping the mountain like a canyon. The canyon is just the same as a fluvial valley, okay? And imagine, at the beginning the mountain was like this, but water starts coming down from here, okay, in a river. What is going to happen after millions of years? That is going to erode the mountain, and we are going to see a valley. This is a valley. Fluvial valleys have V shape, okay? With the red one. V shape. Just take note. They have V shape. Glaciers also erode, because glaciers are rivers of ice and they move. They move slowly, but they move, and they have an enormous force. So, in the case of glaciers, it's going to happen the same as in rivers, but we have the mountain, we have the glacier, but the glaciers are too wide. So they are going to erode the mountain more or less like this. And the valley, okay, the valley is going to have a U shape. This one has V shape and this one has U shape because glaciers are much wider than rivers. Oh my god. And about canyons, it's the same as fluvial valleys, okay? And sand dunes and beaches are made because of the wind and the sand. When the wind blows the sand, it hits the rocks and it erodes them. And deltas are formed when the river takes out the deposits of sands in the end of the rivers, and caves are cliffs and beaches are because of the ocean weathering. And finally, you should write everything I'm telling you, okay? Just write it. And finally, caves are because of the underground water, okay? The water can erode the rock inside the earth. The underground ground waters, okay, can erode the rocks. Okay, and finally we are going to see the risks. The risks are, in the case of when two tectonic plates approach, okay, both when they approach and form a mountain, or both when they approach and goes down and forming volcanoes, we are going to have earthquakes. And earthquakes, if are in the sea, are going to form tsunamis. Okay? Everybody knows what is it. Then, when two tectonic plates approach and one of them is falling down of the other one, are going to form volcanoes. And volcanoes, we have a risk of eruptions. Eruptions can be lava eruptions, which is not dangerous because the lava is like a fluid and you can go down, you can you can live from there, okay? But the problem of eruptions is when they are explosive eruptions. Explosive eruptions are explosions. The volcano explodes and a lot of ashes, cenizas, that are thousands of degrees, okay, they are thousands of degrees, are spewed and they burn. This is what happened with Pompeii. You know that Pompeii was hit by a volcano, okay, and it was the ashes of the explosion of the volcano. And this about the internal risks, okay. About the external, we have floods, okay, when a river, rivers can make floods when the rainfall is higher than the common rainfall, and also rock falls, okay, due to the erosion. And how do we can prevent this? Okay, we can prevent we cannot prevent these things, but we can prevent living in these places, okay? When living in a place with eruptions, it's possible to know when the volcano is going to erupt, because before the eruptions there are little earthquakes, so you can run out. Earthquakes are not predictable, okay? So the only thing we can do is to build houses that resist earthquakes. Write this, please, what I'm telling. And floods, what we can do if there are floods? It's really simple. When we have a river, this is a valley, okay? and it's like this, and here is the river, okay? Okay, here is the river and here is the water. This is the flooding place. When there's a flood, the river is going to flood this, okay? So, but never here in the terrace. These are called terrace. In the first terrace, the first one is going to be flooded, but the second one not. So, how do we can prevent floods? We cannot prevent it, but we can prevent for building here. Okay? The house here, blah blah, and the house here is going to survive. So we should prevent building here. In Spain, there's a lot of floods during the year, and it's because we have built houses here in the first terrace, which is the flooding place. And rockfalls, obviously, how do we can prevent it? We can avoiding building just near a cliff. If we have a cliff here with a rock falling risk, avoid building your house here, obviously. And so this is all. And now I want you to see the other two videos, which are really short and they are really interesting, I promise. And I think that you are going to understand everything much better.